Hey, thank you for a great question. No, I don't think I've ever discussed in much detail what I mean by that phrase, but I use it frequently, and so that's obviously a significant oversight on my part. But I use it in a pretty broad sense to refer to the influence of any of our important social identities on our perception of, reasoning through, or engagement with different topics in public discourse. And I think identity politics can run a spectrum from good and constructive to bad and destructive. And on the good end, I would put those groups who are marginalized and oppressed groups who need to engage in this in order to create and curate and defend identity markers and boundaries in order to help their groups survive. On the other end, I would put the groups of privilege and power who engage in different types of structuring power to serve and advance their own interests, and it's particularly destructive when it is over and against the interests of the other end of that spectrum. And so within a religious studies context, I think there are a lot of ways that Christians who have always had positions of privilege in the United States have never experienced criticism of certain assumptions and of certain approaches. And so these things are so deeply embedded in their intuitive cognition that they can be have quite a defensive and adverse reaction to having them questioned, and can come up with all different kinds of rationalizations for why the things they've always taken for granted ought to be more widely accepted. And this one that is one example that we need to be able to allow for true prophecy, because if you really interrogate these people who are saying we have to allow for this, well, do we allow it also for the Quran, for the Book of Mormon? Did Joseph Smith actually prophesy of the Civil War? Or in those situations with those groups that are not part of your own social identity, can we then impose those historical critical frameworks and say that was very clearly not prophecy, when it comes to the Bible we have to presuppose it? So I would suggest that the folks who are kind of reflexively, reactively defend their own worldviews without thinking critically about them are engaged in identity politics, and if they are situated on the side of that spectrum that is more susceptible to corrosive and destructive identity politics, I say they probably need to think twice about that.